Fighters Only Television here in London, England, and the man standing next to me, Mr. Matthew Riddle, has come rather sharply dressed today, much like myself, rocking the double pony there, I see.
Well, I try to be classy, you know.
Big Ralph Lauren fan?
I am. You know, I've been trying to get them as a sponsor, but they're not having any of it.
Nice.
Yeah, it would be. I think they would pay pretty well, too.
Do you play much polo in your spare time?
You know, I grew up in Saratoga Springs, New York, and it's home of America's oldest racetrack, a harness track, and they play polo up there all the time. I've played a couple times, but, you know, with the fighting, 3 kids, I really don't have much time to play some polo.
So you can actually ride a horse then?
Oh, I can ride a horse, yeah. I don't know how well I can ride a horse, but I can ride a
World I don't think we've ever heard that out of you before about horse riding. It's a little world exclusive there for you, horse fans. Speaking of kids, you were in the news recently. You said jokingly that marijuana, medicinal marijuana, keeps you from beating your 3 children. It was all very tongue-in-cheek, I assume.
Yeah, you know, they kind of took that out of context, and they kind of emphasized that part of the interview, which was a very minor part. Actually, when I was doing the interview, my kids at that time started banging and screaming at the door, and I was like, you know, you can hear them already screaming through the door, and all I said was like, you know, they drive me crazy sometimes, and you know, I probably, if I didn't smoke, I'd beat them. And I said it just like that. They kind of reworded it, put it in bold print, and made it the headline of their story to kind of get more views. And good for them, it did. But bottom line is, I have 3 kids. They love me to death. I love them to death. I would never hurt any of them. And yeah, that's what it is.
How old are your kids?
I got 2 2-year-old. I got twin daughters. They're 2 1/2, and I just had a son, December 27th.
Right. If you did have to take out an unruly child, what do you think would be your method of choice to subdue an unruly child?
Disciplining my kids?
I guess when they're like 7, 8 years old and they can kind of take a dig a bit better.
I can discipline my kids now. You know, basically what I do is, you know, I'm nice, but I take my adult tone. You know, I talk like this when I'm being nice, and they know when I get angry. I get loud, and I kind of sound like a Beauty and the Beast. I'm the Beast, you know, rah, you know. Give them a little growl, and I let them know, hey, stay in check. And usually I only punish them when they're doing, like, they do stuff like mine, and they take stuff or they hit each other. I don't condone violence, even though I fight in a cage.
Right. This medical marijuana thing, can you explain a little bit for those of us that you know, don't live in the US and we aren't familiar with it here in the UK and elsewhere in Europe, apart from Amsterdam, where you can just go and buy it anywhere pretty much. What exactly is it?
In America, marijuana, of course, is illegal, and whatever, you know, that's what it is. And but as a kid growing up, I was prescribed to, you know, Riddle and Adderall, you know, other things to keep me under control. And I ended up getting like ulcers and other things because, you know, that eats away at your stomach, you know. And probably around like 13, 14 years old, I started smoking marijuana. It would calm me down, and it's a miracle drug for me, you know. I don't have ulcers, you know, and they thought they were cancerous. They are gone completely, and I'm a normal person. I got a great family. I fight in the UFC. I have some of the best cardio in the UFC, just like the Diaz brothers, you know. And in America, I have a medical license. I'm legally allowed to smoke. I'm legally allowed to grow. I'm legally allowed to do whatever I want.
See, that was the next question. You're legally allowed to grow because
but hey, I'm not going to say I do or I don't, because that's not my spot or anything like that.
Right.
So,
because I thought
I'm allowed to, though. I'm allowed to.
You got this medical marijuana card, but I thought, how do you exercise that? You just walk into a shop and go.
No, in like California, Colorado, Washington, there's states where they have dispensaries, and you can go buy it just like you can in Amsterdam, but you need your license because, you know, you're prescribed by a doctor. In Nevada, they kind of shut down all the dispensaries, and they were illegally shutting them down because it is state legal, but the cops are going in on their own free accord, just stealing marijuana and stealing the money. And so when that started happening, everybody went back underground. We all have medical licenses, and we're all legal. And worst thing that happens, cops show up, you show them your license, and they walk away.
It's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. That's why, you know, I pay $500 a year to get it, and I take care of it.
So when you get prescribed, presumably by a physician, a qualified medical personnel, did he prescribe anything like sort of Oreos and Gatorade and stuff alongside it, you know, snacks?
You see, no, they don't. But in California, they actually have, at the dispensaries, they have edibles. You can actually get sodas with THC in them and things like that. So, and even creams, you know, because people with joint pain and stuff like that, it's an anti-inflammatory as well.
So speaking of marijuana, I'm going to segue neatly now onto the subject of paranoia, which some people, but presumably not yourself, occasionally get from marijuana ingesting. You had about a paranoia recently when Kevin Randleman was out to kill you. What was all that about?
You know, I had a pro organization called Pure MMA 2. I was running in Pennsylvania, and one of my associates hired Kevin Randleman, Rumble Johnson, and a couple other guys to do an appearance. He came in, and I guess my one associate promised him $1,000, and I guess he was only paid $500. And then that was our last show we had. You know, the business went under. We had a huge card. We had a lot of pro fighters like Dean Thomas and Cody Bollinger and just big names in MMA, and we overshot, you know, and you know, a big mistake a lot of organizations make, but Kevin was still owed $500. I was unaware of this. Kevin came at me, and he didn't really come at me the appropriate way. He came at me sideways, and everybody else told me he was in the wrong. So I was like, all right, whatever. And we talked, and we actually did an interview with Big Perm on a radio show. Yes, and we actually squashed the beef. Training Mask actually called in, and they're like, dude, you guys are both awesome, blah, 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 blah. And they were sponsoring me for my fight, and they go, hey, Matt, how about this? The money we're going to give you, we'll give to Kevin, blah, blah, blah. And I go, you know what? I would like that because I do think Kevin's deserved the money, and we squashed it like that. Now me and Kevin are friends. I mean, we don't hold hands or anything, but I think if we see each other, you know, we'd be social.
Right. You've not seen each other since?
I haven't seen him since. I've seen him at a couple fight shows and stuff like that, but he's busy. You know, I'm busy. I got 3 kids. I'm fighting in the UFC. He's working at a gym, doing his thing. You know, when you're fighting, you're just on the grind all the time.
When all this was going on, like I've seen Randleman lose his temper a couple of times, round and about, and I thought that would be kind of a frightening prospect. You know, if you're in like a 7-Eleven or something, and Randleman just comes flying at you through.
Well, you know, I was worried, you know, because I heard Randleman trained at Drysdale Jiu-Jitsu, and I trained there too. I never saw him in there though, and I'm just waiting for this huge, you know, because Randleman's pretty intimidating. He's only like 5'8", but he's like this thick, jacked as hell with bleached blonde afro, you know. So I'm just waiting for a huge black dude with a blonde afro like Simon Phoenix from Demolition Man to come in, and it never happened. And you know, we worked it out, and everything's good now. So.
Okay, Matt Riddle, thanks very much for the time. Much appreciated.
No problem. Thanks very much.